There we are. Good morning.
Good morning.
How was your weekend, Andrea?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Saw Top Gun, which was amazing.
Oh, yeah. What a great, great movie. Just makes you fall in love with life and our wonderful nation. If
And
you
they
saw
really,
it,
what's that?
if you saw it, put in Top Gun in the chat. What you were about to say, Andrea?
They really know their target audience.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And that's the key word to how you want to make money online with your business. And you and I, we decided we take all of our knowledge and we put it online in the Shanks show, helping healthcare professionals to grow their online businesses. How often do I preach you should know your target audience, Andrea?
All of the time. It really drives everything that we do because that's how you know how to capture their attention and you know their goals. And it takes some time, tweaking, research. But I think that's one of the reasons why you preach that, because then we're able to change it up if we need to, because that's such a big part of marketing. But if you don't know your target audience, then it's hard to know to know literally what audience you're trying to capture, what method you should use, even if you whether you need a website at all, if you should crank up social media. So you need to be able to test on those different audiences, but if you don't know who they are, then it's kind of hard to do that and it's hard to center your message. So I think quite a bit with the team and also with our clients, you you talk all the time about the importance of knowing your target audience, of
Yeah.
knowing who you're trying to reach.
It's one of the most fundamental elements of making money in your business is knowing who you serve. And you would be surprised how often I do not see that clearly. As a matter of fact, when someone goes to your website, within a split second, they should know who you serve. So I prepared a little bit of a presentation, if you will. So
Let's hear it.
let's go through it. All right. So, how do you make money with your business? We all want to know it. The basic formula is really knowing who you serve, where these people are, what you offer, what you solve for them, and how you solve it. And today we'll only focus on the who. Who are my dream patients? This is something that is specific to healthcare professionals, of course. And as you can see, I could have chosen clients, customers, but I chose the word patients. Why? It's because that is the language that my audience uses, right? So I know that my dream clients are healthcare professionals and they think of their audience, their target audience, as patients. Hence, I'm going to use that word. And when they see that online, they decide to check in, to actually look at the live, look at the video. Andrea, are you still with us? She
Yes, of
is.
course.
Okay. So, who are my dream patients? Seems to be a weird question, but can you see, for example, that if you know that your patients are high performance sports athletes, for example, or they are obese people living in San Antonio with a certain background. Can you see how that is very powerful in how you have your online communication?
I think so. And we have actually a recent example of that, understanding that where there's a high population of obesity, there's going to be chronic conditions that follow: diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, and all of these things. You want to make sure that you include that language somewhere right off the bat where these patients are going to be struggling with that, and know that you're talking to them when you provide solutions for them.
Mhm. Absolutely. So we can have a dream patient being a very healthy person and someone maybe who wants to become even better at sports. Or we can, a dream patient, be a very sick person so that we can treat them in maybe a specialty that we focus on. And both audiences would be valid for a physician, but they're completely different. On the one hand, you focus on healthy folks who want to optimize their sports results. On the other hand, you might focus on people who suffer from rheumatoid arthritis and they just want to go through their lives without pain. And when I go to your website, I need to know exactly who you are serving. Don't fall into the trap of I can help everyone. That is something that every business owner thinks. Even we thought so at the beginning. We can help anyone who needs a website. But you will very quickly find that that is not an efficient way to make money. The next question is, what do they look like? And that might be an odd question at first, but this is to be understood, of course, in a larger sense. What do my ideal patients look like? Andrea.
Yeah, I think the two kind of really go hand in hand, but understanding what they look like also helps you to know where they live.
Mm-hmm.
So if I know that I have an older population and I know that they're probably not the most technologically savvy um, individuals, I'm probably not going to be on like TikTok or Snapchat. But
Right.
if they're a younger crowd, you were talking about sports athletes, which I mean, they sustain injuries. They do, and they may need sports physicals or checkups, or it's possible they could still have some kind of chronic condition even if they're young and healthy. Um, just because sometimes that happens, like type 1 diabetes, for example. Anyway, knowing what they look like, who they are, and what they look like helps you to locate them and also helps you to know how to speak to them a little bit more. For example, also, if going back to San Antonio, and we know that there is part of the community is Spanish speaking, then maybe I'm going to include in my practice people who are bilingual, who are able to be not only I'm sorry, fluent linguistically, but also culturally competent. And knowing what they look like is a part of that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, and it goes further. I mean, it's not just the physical appearance, of course, which you spoke about, but also what do their ideologies look like, right? If you analyze our perfect clients as Shanks, we have to notice that a lot of our perfect clients fall into the political field of libertarians or conservative leaning. And that is a very important insight because now we can speak to the willingness of healthcare professionals wanting to be independent, wanting to practice according to their rules, not someone else's rules. We can speak to the love of country and of the people, of the states they serve, right? And that is all of this understanding what your ideal patient looks like helps you with this big problem that we also have in reaching your patient because you know that nowadays you can no longer target people with paid advertisement directly because of calling out an ailment or a disability they have. However, if you understand that your target audience has a certain behavior, then you can use that knowledge to tangentially approach them. For example, if you know that your patients with arthritis have a lot of lower back pain, you could then go ahead and publish an article on your blog that talks about how and what you can do to help them with their lower back pain. Now, once they're on your website, you can do a few things, but one of the smartest things is capture the information. You could offer a free download of an exercise or dietary guidelines or whatever you know that helps them with their low back pain. That is certainly something you can do. The other thing you can do is you can use tagging techniques where you build in a little piece of code into your website that puts a marker on that person that they have looked at that blog. Okay. Similarly, you could attend events in which people typically attend that fit the description of people with lower back pain. Very often, if you go to health fairs, general health and wellness fairs in your community, you will find that a tremendous amount of people suffer from lower back pains, right? So if you want to use another approach where you don't want to talk about what they suffer from, but what they are passionate about, that works equally well. What are they passionate about? Andrea, if we know that our target patient lives in a rural area and they're most likely involved in farming, cattle raising, or things of that nature, do you think that attending a exhibition on tractors or cattle or farming technique would make sense for such a patient, for such a
I
healthcare
mean, they
professional?
probably already know it.
I don't know if they know it. I know a lot of healthcare professionals who live in rural areas and they service farmers essentially. And they do not think about the fact that if they attend their annual fair,
Oh, I see.
right?
Yes.
So, okay, so here's what that certain healthcare professional would do. They would attend the annual county fair, right?
Right.
Set up a booth and focus on something that farmers very often suffer from. And that's where it comes into play of knowing your target audience very well. I don't know, Andrea. Do you know? I don't know what farmers suffer from a lot. Maybe they often have a neck pain because they like bend forward a lot, or they sit on their machinery and the sun hits on their head. I don't know. I would assume they have a lot of joint pain, and because they have like a lot of physical labor that's involved, right?
There could be some injuries that they run into on a regular basis just because there's wear and tear. I mean, anytime you're out on a ranch or a farm and you're tending to animals and just everything around you, you're likely to get yourself hurt. And sometimes those you might have a laceration that needs repair. You might need the stitches or have a broken bone or something of this nature that goes a little bit beyond what you could patch up at home. Maybe there's such a deep gash or it gets infected or any of these kinds of things. We were talking about that a little bit. It's interesting, but definitely being in the room, even if it is just to teach first aid or to be there present when truckers or tractor or whoever they are getting trained on their job and making yourself available to them. That is definitely something that you're going to find your target audience there.
Yeah. Again, Use what you know about your perfect patient. They have passions, and show up where their passion takes them, and offer something that is typically an ailment or a complaint that comes along with the passion. Give you another example. You are a chiropractor and you focus on young professionals who are into technology because they have a good amount of dispensable income. Okay. So there is a whole generation of gamers who are very, very, very passionate about what they do. Okay. What you could do now is search out gaming conferences or events for gamers, take a booth there, and guess what gamers have a lot of problems with? Inflammation in their wrist, obesity, they don't get enough exercise, bad posture because they typically have the tendency to like hunch over their gaming computers for hours and hours and hours. And you offer something that speaks to that ailment, and it is brilliantly smart to do that.
Yeah, I would add also understanding that we have a marketing assistant, community manager who's very involved in the gaming world can also speak to something that doctors can still help with, which is anxiety or depression. In that
Oh
community,
yeah.
it's pretty common. I was told there is a lot of isolation. And then, when the big sickness happened, we'll call it the big sickness. That everyone was experiencing for years, people were affected even more. And I definitely think, in combination with all of what you mentioned, that's an area where a, a doctor would be able to help them.
You bring up an amazing point there, Andrea. If I was a counselor, some sort of therapist who can handle mental health, man, would I show up at gaming conferences or
That's
at
a brilliant idea.
cosplay conventions. Uh, it's just very important to go a step further in this exercise of thinking about who you service and really understand who they are. Last, before we are done today, is what are their goals, dreams, and desires? If you know that about your patients, that is going to be very, very powerful. Give you an example from our perspective again. We target healthcare professionals whose goals are the following: they want to improve their communities, they want to have time freedom, they want to have financial freedom, and they want to practice medicine according to their rules, not someone else's rules. They want to run a business. They want to build something up that maybe at some point in their career they have an exit strategy where they can just reap the rewards of their lifelong journey instead of having worked for an employer for their entire lives. And knowing that, again, lets you craft content that serves them and lets you show up in areas where they happen to be. Any thoughts about that, Andrea?
I think you pretty much covered it. Really, putting all of these together is what helps you to understand them. I mean, if you're really in the business to help people, and I think we all are, it's because we have some kind of contribution that we want to make to that target audience. And it's a beautiful thing when you're able to make money and profit from it. But at the end, it's really an exchange of services or products or goods, however, whatever it is. And medicine is healing, and I think it's an amazing gift to really share. And when you care about your patient, your customer, you care about their goals, their dreams, and their desires too, especially when you know that you have a huge role to play in helping them to realize that, because they're well,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be in mental wellness or physical wellness. And when you keep all of the things in mind that we were talking about, who they are, where they're living, where to find them, and how to show up, then it's kind of natural that it comes together.
Yep. Well, we have more. If you are a healthcare or wellness professional who wants to learn how to market themselves online, go to shanks.healthcare, SHANKX.healthcare. If you are a chiropractor, we have something very specific for you. We have a chiropractic business coaching program that we want you to take a look at, and you can find that at schubelvisionelite.com, which is blended in. That's it for today. Definitely post your questions, comments, and concerns even after this live is over. We'll address them. We will definitely teach you everything we know to make your healthcare business grow. Bye for now.
See you later.